Needle size, what's right for you? I'm Warwick from Harder and Steenbeck, and I'm back with more of our need to know basics. Now, the first thing that I've got to say about this topic is please do bear in mind that with any airbrush manufacturer, it's really critical to make sure that your needle size, your nozzle size, and your air cap size, which is the part that screws over the nozzle, are matched. Okay, you've got to use the same size of each part with each other, otherwise they really won't work well. Any manufacturer, that's absolutely always true, so do bear that in mind. With Harder and Steenbeck, the way that you identify this is, for example, our 0.15 setup will have one ring on it, whether it's the nozzle, the air cap, or the needle. The 0.2 will have 2, the 0.4 will have 4. So it's quite easy to identify that way. People love to talk about needle sizes and nozzle sizes in terms of how fine the line is that they're going to get with their airbrush setup. And this is really not a good way of understanding what's really going on. First of all, most people tend not to use the airbrush to draw lines. Drawing lines is really pretty well done already by things like paintbrushes, pens, and pencils. They do a great job of that. What the airbrush is really good at doing is precisely controlling very fine films of paint. So this translates into extreme control over color hue and color build and things like this. The best way to decide which setup you should be on is when you look at your job, how big is the part that you're trying to paint and how much paint are you trying to move? As soon as those sizes and amounts go up, you probably want to be reaching for the larger sizes, the 0.4s, the 0.6s. As soon as the parts get smaller and the amount of paint you're going to use gets smaller and the distance away from the part you're going to be, you need to be reaching for the smaller sizes. And the reason is purely this. The smaller the nozzle, the needle, the air cap, the slower the paint delivery. Now, typically when you're working with little parts, you need much more fine control over speed, how much paint you're putting down, whether that's controlling color or just making sure that you don't flood the surface. The smaller sizes automatically will give you a higher degree of control on small amounts of paint on small areas. When you're working larger, it's really that you need to get the job done. So you need to be able to flow more paint. So for example, if you're a cosplayer and you're working on a sword handle, that's a bigger sword handle that you're working with than if you're a miniature painter, much smaller. So this is really what it is. The size of the work that you're doing, the amount of paint that you're trying to flow, how far you are away from what you're painting, how close you are. That's really what governs what size you're going to pick. I'd encourage you to really think in terms of speed and control. So the more speed you have, the less control you have. The less speed you have in terms of how much paint is flowing, the more control you have. So when you're working to the final highlights on something, whether it's a large piece or a small piece, and you want to be really thinking about the finest control possible, you might want to put a 0.2 setup on there, even if you're working on a larger part. So I think this is really what it is. Instead of thinking of it in terms of fineness, do consider it more about how much control you have over the speed of your paint delivery, and think about it in those terms, and then you'll always pick up the right parts. Do subscribe to our channel for more need-to-know basics from Harder and Steenbeck. And if there's some topics that we haven't covered, please let us know in the comments.